Ikoria is a plane of myths and legends. With some of the largest, most ferocious monsters throughout the multiverse, it's natural for epic tales of creation and destruction to follow in their massive footsteps. However, one of the greatest myths on Ikoria may not be about any native monster, something far greater than even the apexes. This is the legend of the largest creature to ever walk on Ikoria, the birth of all we see today, and a theory that's truly out of this world. Is there evidence to the myth that the Eldrazi Titans once visited and left their mark on Ikoria? Hello everyone and welcome back to the Aether Hub. I'm Simon, bringing you more Magic the Gathering lore. Today this video is going to get really tin-hatty as we explore the conspiracy theory that the Eldrazi Titans had once in the past visited the plane of Ikoria, and evidence of their presence can still be seen there today. Full disclosure, this is not my theory. I found this on the Magic TCG subreddit posted by a user named JankJunction. It's just such an intriguing theory that I just had to put it into a video. Now, I'm giving all credit to JankJunction, and I encourage you to all follow the link to that thread in the description below and give this person an upvote. They did some amazing work here and they deserve it. So, let's see what evidence we can find about Eldrazi on Ikoria. First, a little recap. What are the Eldrazi? They're a mysterious race of beings who live in the blind eternity, the space between the planes of the multiverse. They're of an unknown makeup and with an undefined purpose. What we know for sure is that they feed on entire worlds, absorbing their essence and mana until the plane becomes unstable and is destroyed. They're world eaters. There are three main Eldrazi Titans we know of: Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek. For centuries, they've been trapped in stasis thanks to planeswalking heroes. However, once freed, they were confronted and defeated permanently by the members of the Gatewatch. Kozilek and Ulamog were physically destroyed, while Emrakul was imprisoned again. So with the Eldrazi taken care of for now, what evidence do we have that they were ever on Ikoria? We go back to the various myths of this plane, as kept and recited by Riel the Everwise. Specifically, she speaks of the creation of a region on Ikoria known as Indatha, a swampy area full of nightmares and horrors. It is said that some of Indatha's lowlands were formed by a long trail of enormous footprints, leading from the forests of Zagoth in the south to Indatha's northwestern coast. Riel believes that they were made by the largest monster to ever walk the plane, but it vanished into the sea long ago. So we have a creation tale which has a giant monster creating swamplands. How is this connected to the Eldrazi Titans? Well, currently there are no signs of a monster on Ikoria big enough for this feat. Yes, Ikoria has some big boys on it, but nothing of this scale. Not only that, it would have to be a monster who can both walk on land while also residing in the sea for years at a time. Yes, it's like Godzilla, but as he's not canon in the lore, we have to explore other options. One great fit for a creature fitting this description would be the Eldrazi Titan Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. The Reddit post looks at Ulamog as the most likely candidate and will explore the evidence that backs this up. Ulamog, for the vast majority of modern MTG history, has a strong connection with the seas and oceans of planes. When the Titans were first freed from their prisons on Zendikar, Ulamog burst from the depths of the oceans and managed to attack the town of Seagate. It feels comfortable in the dark, crushing depths beneath the waves. During their years of confinement, the merfolk of Zendikar even created their own myths of Ula, their god of the sea. Of course, this god turned out to be none other than Ulamog, the Eldrazi Titan. So as you can see, Ulamog and the sea have quite the strong connection, meaning that this nameless monster retreating back to the ocean could very well have been the avatar of Ulamog from a time long since past. Still, if the Eldrazi Titan had visited Ikoria, surely there would be more evidence than just some swamps and a myth, right? Well, JankJunction gets into some of the unique creature types we see on Ikoria as possible links to Ulamog and the power of the Eldrazi. The Eldrazi Titans, when they visit a world, seem to corrupt it as they devour it. For example, Emrakul has this nasty habit of mutating the natural life of a world with strange growths and eldritch tentacles. Ulamog is more known for this distinctive white chalky nothingness it leaves in its wake, devouring all essence from living and non-living material alike. We don't see these trails on Ikoria, but we know that even scars like this can be healed through time, as we've seen on Zendikar. But we do know that Ulamog too can transform those who come into contact with it or its brood. The vampires of Zendikar were mutated and corrupted, growing horns and hooks on their bodies to be used by the Eldrazi, almost like puppets. So even Ulamog has the power to mutate living creatures. Yet, what creatures could Ulamog have changed on Ikoria? Well, that brings us to the nightmares. Yes, nightmares and horrors take on a unique twist in Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. Unlike the ghostly apparitions we know them as on other planes, here on Ikoria they're much more biological, leading us to believe that this nightmare anatomy is an evolved adaptation. What could have prompted this type of development outside of an Eldrazi Titan? Twisting and corrupting natural life close to its resting area, the swamps close to the Sea of Indatha, this is the place that we find the most nightmares on Ikoria. It seems to fit pretty well, and the most convincing case would have to come from a single card, Void Beckoner from Ikoria Lair of Behemoths. This titanic monster has a lot of physical along with other non-physical traits similar to a drone of Ulamog. Let's just briefly mention that it shares the same stat line and mana cost as Ulamog's Crusher, one of Ulamog's drones. Drones are the offshoot or spawn of an Eldrazi Titan. Think of the Titans as queen bees, and their drones are just budding workers who obey commands. They're not technically individuals, but rather extensions of the Titan itself. Each Titan represents itself through its brood, and Ulamog is no exception. Again, look at Ulamog's Crusher. It shares the iconic bony head and body plates as its Titan master, along with long, thick trunks it uses as appendages. Now take a look back at Void Beckoner. We can see a very similar body plan here. We may not have the thick appendages, but it's a common Eldrazi mutation to have multiple arms or legs, which is a common feature in all nightmares on Ikoria. With the Void Beckoner, we also have that bony headplate and the horns, which look very similar to the hooks of the vampire slaves of Ulamog on Zendikar. The long, tentacle-esque tongues coming from its mouth are also a calling card of the Eldrazi Titans at large. So with everything, this monster has a lot of familiar Eldrazi traits. Its name is also a callback to the Eldrazi, Void Beckoner. The Eldrazi Titans are creatures of the void, the endless darkness that is the blind eternity. It also references the state in which the Eldrazi leave a world upon their consumption, a void. So this one creature could very well be the thing that signaled the coming of Ulamog so many years ago, something that started this myth and changed Ikoria forever. Another connection the Eldrazi may have with the native monsters of Ikoria comes by another of Rael's myths, this time in reference to the apex Aluna. Aluna is the apex of wishes, and it gets its title because of its natural ability to make dreams come true. Literally. The Everwise tells us that in the past, Aluna conjured a creature from dreams alone, but that every time she tells this tale, the monster changes. She can't clearly remember this summoned creature. We know from the Shadows over Innistrad block that the Eldrazi can indeed be summoned, even by mortal individuals, by funneling concentrated doses of mana and acting as a signal beam for the hungry Eldrazi. Perhaps the magic of Aluna was able to conjure a likeness of the Eldrazi, of Ulamog, that visited the plane but didn't devour it as it was merely just a construct of Aluna. This is very interesting because Eldrazi can take on many different forms, which would result in Rael not being able to confirm what it looked like each and every time. It's not so far-fetched to think of an ancient planeswalker who had experiences with the Eldrazi, visiting Ikoria and running into Aluna, the apex monster, then conjured an effigy of the Eldrazi from this planeswalker's memory. Ulamog appeared, creating the nightmares and swamps of Indatha, then vanished. The art of mythos of Aluna shows this apex capable of making all manner of creatures, so this theory is for sure within the realm of possibilities. Now, the final bit of evidence I'd like to introduce is actually something of my own thinking. So this is really to add on top of the great evidence provided to us by this user, and it sort of gets into spoiler territory for the novel of Ikoria Lair of Behemoths, Sundered Bond. So if you don't want any spoilers, best to like the video and stop it now. So, as Vivian Reed explores Ikoria, she makes it clear that she's investigating strange disturbances in the natural order of this plane. The monsters are forcibly evolving and mutating, while a strange magic bonds the spirits of humans with monsters. It's all very unnatural. She suspects a rogue planeswalker is interfering with things for an unknown reason, but what she actually finds is a crystal known as the Ozolith. The Ozolith is really mysterious, but it is the corrupting power that's making all new types of monsters, these mutants. It also calls out to the planeswalker Luca in a bodiless voice, something he can't really explain, but it's a compulsion, a drive like he's never felt before. This voice, the Ozolith, corrupts Luca and in a sense drives him mad. He doesn't see reason or logic in what he plans to do with his new bonding abilities, and his character sort of just goes nutso. This is so similar to the effect the Eldrazi have on the inhabitants of planes they visit. I mean, just look at anyone that's gotten too close to Emrakul. They are driven mad with devotion to their Eldrazi god, and while Luca doesn't become a pawn of an Eldrazi per se, he does indeed become corrupted. Think back to Avacyn, the guardian angel of light on Innistrad. She didn't bend to the service of Emrakul, but was corrupted by the Eldrazi all the same. A very similar thing happens to Luca in Sundered Bond. The Ozolith could be the remains of an Eldrazi on Ikoria, some conduit for it to spread its influence without being specifically on the plane. The crystals of Ikoria hold a lot of unique powers. Really, they define the landscape of this plane. For one, they can trigger mutations in monsters, as well as glow furiously when monsters are near. But there is another unique rock formation tied to the Eldrazi. That's right, the Hedrons of Zendikar, handmade by Ugin and Nahiri, and used as the prison system that locked the Eldrazi away. These crystals are not too far removed from the Hedrons of Zendikar, maybe a little less fancy, but they can store and lock mana just as the Hedrons did. Perhaps years ago, a wayward planeswalker tracked an Eldrazi Titan to Ikoria, and by using some foreign magic, was able to create the crystal system we see there today, trapping the Eldrazi on Ikoria. Maybe now the essence of this new Eldrazi is seeping through its cage. The crystals ooze with this corrupting force, mutating the monsters and corrupting heroes like Luca. Maybe that planeswalker Vivian Reed was tracking was in fact the Eldrazi's guard, who has since disappeared. It's a really fun theory that I so badly want to be true. Anyway guys, I know this channel can get a little much with the tin hat theories, and I basically harping everything back to either the Eldrazi or the Phyrexians. But how could you not see the Eldrazi Titans on Ikoria with all this evidence? Now I gotta get started on my Are Phyrexians Headed to Ikoria video. In all seriousness, I have to thank JankJunction on Reddit from the MTG subreddit for getting this theory to the greater community. I hope I can help it reach even more people with my own twist added in as well. A link to the original thread is provided in the description below. Please go upvote it, it really deserves it. But that's going to do it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to show your support by leaving it a like, subscribing to the channel, and ticking that notification bell so you never miss out on a new video. As always, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, see ya!